In recent decades, game genres have come a long way from the days of the arcade, with new ones popping up when new styles are made popular, such as Souls-like games. One very popular newer genre is the cozy game, where players can have a stress-free experience in a world they feel comfortable. But what makes a game cozy? Why are cozy games so popular? Let's start with something called Project Horseshoe. This is an annual conference of game designers and industry professionals who focus on solving game design's toughest problems. This can range from creating worlds players want to spend their time in, to game mechanics and dialogue used. This massive brainstorming conference can help improve and innovate future game design. In 2017, the main focus was on cozy games, defining them and how to create them. Games such as Animal Crossing and Harvest Moon had been released for some time and already had sizable and loyal fan bases. So Project Horseshoe wanted to explore what made these games, and others like them, so popular. What kept players coming back and spending hours in that world? What were the core elements of a cozy game? Spoiler alert, it's psychology. Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist who created a theory called Maslow's Hierarchy of Human Needs in 1943. This was a pyramid of needs every person must fulfill in order to feel motivated towards personal growth. There are 8 levels to this pyramid, simplified down to 5, and working from the bottom to the top, each level must be completed before being able to move on to the next. Hey, kinda like gaming! We cannot focus on becoming a parent or a spouse if we haven't achieved the basic bottom of the pyramid needs, such as food and shelter. Once we feel fulfilled in a level of needs, we have the ability to move up and focus on the next level. The different levels are, when working from bottom to top, physiological needs such as food, water, shelter, and sleep. Safety needs, safety and security within a job, a family, or property. Belongingness and love needs, friends and close relationships. Esteem needs, a feeling of accomplishment and pride, respect given and received, and confidence. Self-actualization, being both internally and externally aware of morality, undertaking creative or spontaneous activities, and lacking prejudice. There may be some people asking, why can't they just skip a level and go from the bottom to the middle? Some people do try, but it will feel forced and very pressured, and they'll eventually feel they have to drop down a level in order to feel their needs are met. So what does this have to do with cozy games? Well, you know how I said you can only move on to the next level once the previous one is secure and constant? Cozy games try to fulfill the lower levels of the pyramid, so a player can focus on the upper levels. If a player enters a game world where there's a house for their character to live, they don't get hungry or thirsty, they have friends to talk to, and there's no risk of danger. Most of the needs are met. This leaves the player only the higher levels to think about, giving them a solid foundation in which to explore and be creative within the world. The definition of coziness in games is the ability to elicit 3 important feelings: safety, abundance, and softness. Safety refers to the lack of risk or danger when playing a game. There's no big penalty for failing a task. There's no feeling of impending doom or some threat on the horizon. The player can feel safe in the world and play the game how they want to, without punishment or criticism. The world also has to feel familiar in certain ways, such as the presence of everyday objects, or creating tasks that the player understands and can relate to real-world activities. There also needs to be reliability within the game, so when a player goes fishing, there's always fish to catch. When they chop down a tree, there will always be wood ready to use. These aspects of safety create a world where players can feel comfortable knowing that everything they need to know is laid out in front of them, with no nasty surprises. Abundance comes from seeing and feeling as though the player character has enough of something, be it food, electricity, water, or any resource they need to use. There is no pressure to provide or acquire more of something, no urgency to find or wait for assets to become available in order to keep the character alive. There is enough of everything the character needs, which in turn negates the stress that may be felt. Softness is what the player sees or hears when in the game world. The music, the art style, the story beats, even how much of the world is available to the player. These all go towards creating a low-stress environment where the player can feel at ease, making sure everything is set at the player's pace where they can enjoy the moment. When referring to how much of the world the player has access to, this can create boundaries within which the player is in total control. Even if there's a bigger world to explore, it will still be manageable for the player to navigate, and nothing will exist outside of these borders that may cause stress or worry. Another important element of cozy games is time management. Stephen Covey was an American educator and author, among other occupations, and he developed the time management matrix. This grid shows the distinction between task importance and urgency. There are 4 quadrants, each with a different combination of importance and urgency. If a task is important and urgent, it's quadrant 1. A task with no importance and no urgency is quadrant 4. Cozy games sit in quadrant 2, important tasks that don't have urgency to complete. This enables players to manage their time accordingly, knowing a task needs to be done, such as planting crops within a certain season, but knowing they have enough game time to complete it without stress. 2 more theories that are important within cozy games are tend and befriend, and self-determination. Tend and befriend was originally developed by Shelley E. Taylor and published in 2000. Basically, it outlines how humans are fundamentally driven to take care of offspring, tend, and create a social group in order to provide mutual protection, befriend. This is applied to cozy games because we enjoy having something or someone to take care of. It could be a pet, a child, or a plant. NPCs, or party members that offer to craft an item for the player or complete a side quest while the player does something else, is a form of this social support in-game. Receiving gifts from characters to show their appreciation or aid in reaching goals can also build a relationship between the players and characters, creating a feeling of a social group. Self-determination theory refers to motivation, how a person prioritizes one choice over another based on their own psychological needs. In the 1970s, there were studies being undertaken comparing intrinsic and extrinsic motives. Intrinsic is an activity a person does because it's interesting or satisfying to them. Extrinsic is an activity a person does to achieve an external goal. In the mid-1980s, Edward Deci and Richard Ryan wrote a book called Self-Determination and Intrinsic Motivation in Human Behavior, which is a super long title, but ended up introducing the name Self-Determination Theory. Applying this to cozy games shows us how much we enjoy having agency and control over our own decisions, and the more freedom we choose to have, the more motivated we are to play. Working towards a goal can be satisfying, but deciding how and when we get to that goal makes the process enjoyable. Games like Unpacking or Cozy Grove allow a player to explore and complete tasks however and whenever they wish. Unpacking will wait until every last item is placed and every box emptied before it announces the level complete. There's no timer, no high score, no pressing need to move as fast as possible. The player is just placed in this world and given a single task, to unpack. Cozy Grove gives a player tasks to complete, some being instant and some taking a few days. But again, there's no pressure to do anything quickly. A player can run around and search every pile of leaves, or just stand on the coast and fish, and the game won't punish them. There are rewards and upgrades available for completing tasks, so the player just decides when they want them and plays accordingly. There is also a little patch of land that the player can customize with decorations and furniture that they earn or make, giving them a personal area they can always come back to and feel safe. So creating a cozy game world seems doable with the fundamentals I mentioned. Game developers are always working to improve or add new elements to a current game. But what if they added something that could prevent coziness? There are quite a few factors that can uncozy a cozy game. Extrinsic rewards. Danger, fear, or threat. Responsibility. Unpleasant distractions. Intense stimulus. Distance. Phobia sources. Non-consensual social presence. Confinement. Deception, betrayal, lies, insincerity. Opulence, pretentiousness, fanciness. After all this fine-tuning and delicate balancing of factors and elements, why make a cozy game in the first place? The simple answer is finding happiness by allowing players to explore higher levels of their pyramids. They're also a great way to de-stress or have a break from the real world for a little while, but being allowed to experience higher levels of the pyramid without consequence can be very beneficial. So, cozy games have a lot more thinking and planning behind them than I realised, with so many psychological theories merging together and interacting. Once you understand how and why a cozy game makes you feel the way it does, it's easy to notice it when you play a new game. At its core, a cozy game is there to make players feel safe, take their own time when completing tasks, experiencing social and intimate relationships, and exploring higher levels of their pyramid of needs without stress or worry.